tonight's hearing is very important. It will reveal whether this committee is more interested in facts or fiction. The questions members pose will show whether they are engaged in an even-handed search for the truth or a partisan attack based on ideology.
The target is Planned Parenthood. The issue is what, if anything, illegal this organization is doing with tax dollars. There remain serious questions about the videos purporting to show Planned Parenthood breaking the law. The state of Missouri has found no evidence the organization illegally handled fetal tissue. And a new USA Today Suffolk University poll finds Americans back government support for this group by a 2-to-1 margin. And smack dab in the middle of this storm is the head of Planned Parenthood being grilled on Capitol Hill and a possible government shutdown over the funding of this organization. Let's take it all on. Welcome back, host of the syndicated radio program America Trends and co-author of What Women Really Want, Dr. Gina Loudon. Dr. Gina, always a pleasure to have you on the show, and let's dig right in because we got a lot to talk about here. According to a survey now from Quinnipiac University, most Republicans do not want to close the government over Planned Parenthood. And I mentioned the other poll, Suffolk University, by more than 2-to-1, people in the United States want funding continued for Planned Parenthood. Now, in light of these two things I've just talked about, there seems to be a groundswell out there on Capitol Hill. We have to shut it down. We have to defund it. How do you balance that, though, with people saying, no, that's not what we need to do?
Well, I think we have to consider that this is a public entity being paid for by our tax dollars to the tune of $1.5 million every single day, Ed. And let's not forget, here's this woman who is testifying today, Ms. Richards, who is taking from that pot more than $500,000 in salary. And when anyone even brought that up in the hearings today, Ed, you may have noticed she pulled the women's card. To me, that is the most vile, disgusting thing. And by the way, when is she or any of her now compadres, when are they going to jump to the defense of unborn women or women like Gina Jessen, who was attemptedly murdered during a saline abortion 38 years ago, that testified in all of this? Where's the defense for them? They're not getting $500,000 a year salaries from taxpayers.
Everything you're saying is correct, but let's see if we can just boil this down a little bit, because obviously there are mistakes that have been made here. There are things that are being said. But let's get back to what started this all, and that is the videos that have been on display here. There is a group, an analysis conducted by a group called the Center for Medical Progress. They said there was absolutely nothing wrong. They were authentic, showed no evidence. But this is an anti-abortion group. They are not a nonpartisan third party. There are people out there who've looked at these videos and they're saying, wait a minute, something's wrong here. And the group that shot them will not let people look at them unedited. Doesn't that still leave a hole that's got to be discussed and has got to be addressed?
I mean, they either said and did the things they said and did, or they didn't. And I think, you know, I've been on a reality show, Ed, and they edited the daylights out of it. It was weeks of taping that went into what was ultimately a 43-minute reality television show. Were we edited to look like we weren't? We absolutely were. But the thing is, and this is what I loved about it, they couldn't make us say anything that we didn't say. They couldn't make us do anything that we didn't do. Could they put it together in ways that you could form your own opinion? Of course. And I'm not even saying that's what this group did. In my opinion, the Center for Media Progress, what they did is basically cut out, as they said, bathroom breaks, lulls in
But we don't know that.
conversation.
I'll agree with you on that. You're exactly right when it comes to reality shows, and I'm playing devil's advocate here on this, quite frankly. I'll agree with you. But still, if there is a question as to whether or not these videos were edited, and if this organization has absolutely got Planned Parenthood and nailed them, shouldn't they show the unedited videos and make sure that things aren't being taken out of context? Isn't that fair?
I think, you know, you can make that argument, Ed, if you want to, but I think we have to look at the bigger picture here. Let's take it to the worst case scenario. I like to do that a lot. My background's in psychology, and I tell people, take your greatest fear and take it to its ultimate extreme and see if it's really as scary as you think. So let's say these are just amazingly edited. I mean, they spliced words together and every other thing. We still have $1.5 million a year going to a private entity that is not ruling out, right, selling baby parts, that is doing abortions, that does not do mammograms, that is paying their CEO more than $500,000 a year. Does anyone else smell a rat here?
Well, granted,
excluding those
I'm going to
videos?
agree with you too here, Dr. Gina, because yeah, I think there are rats on both sides of this, quite frankly. I think there's a lot of things we haven't heard on both sides, but you are correct in certain issues. I got about a minute left. Let me just bring this to you. There's a study out right now that points out if Planned Parenthood is cut, if the funding is cut, it will cost taxpayers $130 million over the next 10 years, resulting in more unplanned pregnancies and births. Do you think that these figures and this study is incorrect? I mean, they're saying basically you're only dealing with 3-4% of abortions. That's where the money goes in Planned Parenthood. What about all the rest that needs to be funded?
First of all, there are women's clinics on just about every corner. There are doctors' offices that also have access to the same funding for women's health. Nobody's going to go without health care here, Ed. That's a scare tactic and a big red herring. And I honestly feel sorry for anyone dumb enough to fall for it. Now, to the degree that there is a cost incurred when lives are created, I guess we have to decide if we are eugenicists like Margaret Sanger, who wanted to eradicate the black race to begin with, and that was her whole purpose in founding Planned Parenthood, or if we do believe in life and the power of humanity to let these little lives come into the world and do the best we can with
Fair
them.
to say, though, Dr. Gina, at the end, I'm all out of time, but fair to say that if we're going to end this, we need to get the scare tactics out of both sides here, get to the facts, and make sure that we have the real truth. You would agree with that. I know that.
I do not think, Ed, that the scare tactics have even scratched the surface of how disgusting and terrifying abortion is and that industry is. I think Kenneth Gosnell is about all I have to say.
I think that's fair to say, certainly on both sides of the issue. This will continue. Dr. Gina Loudon, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Ed.
Best to you and the family. Take care. Telling It Like It is next with plenty of twits. Don't worry, we'll handle it right from here.